Good morning. My name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to try to do something a little bit different than we usually do. We're going to draw a sketch of something that we're going to make. And now I really am not an illustrator. I don't draw and I don't paint, but I do, sculpture more than anything else. And I'm wondering if you ever, this is something I want you to put this in the comment section at the end of the video. I'm wondering if you ever draw anything, and and if you do, I'm going to show you how to take something that you have drawn a picture of and turn it into a sculpture. And so I'm just gonna draw out something in my mind. I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking. I live across the street from a cemetery, actually, which I actually like because it's very picturesque over there, and a lot of big trees, and it's very hilly, and it's well taken care of, and so it's not really frightening. And I look over there a lot while I'm working because the window kind of looks out on it from my studio. So I'm thinking of like a hill type thing to start off with. So and I've seen in the past, I've seen like pictures of houses on hills and things like that, and so I'm thinking of like a little fairy house. And I don't want it to be really complicated, something fairly simple, so just basically a house like this. So again, I don't draw that much. I'm sure you can see, but this will just give us an idea. Of course, we wouldn't stop the smoke. And then maybe a tree beside it would be cool. So like that. And I'm not really sure how to do the branches, but maybe like that. And then some foliage. And maybe some texture on the tree, and maybe a knot hole. So yeah, definitely I really hope that you'll take part in this comment thing and actually give me a comment and let me know if you ever do anything like this. Now let's see, I kind of like a pathway maybe. So some kind of like windy pathway. That's pretty neat. I think that would be a cool little fairy garden. And then we're gonna put it together. So also like a fence. Maybe even, I don't know if you all like white picket fences, but that would be really, it's like the American dream. Or wherever you happen to be, for that matter. But right now it's black because I'm using a black magic marker. But that could be pretty neat. So I don't know if you ever do things like this, but I'm going to show you how to take that and make it into something as a sculpture. So let's get started. I'm going to put this off to the side. No, actually, yeah, I'll put it off to the side. You probably won't be able to see it, but if you need to see it, I'll show it to you again. So the first thing is going to be a hill. I'm working in polymer clay, This is Sculpey 3. It's the brand I like, but you could probably use any brand you like. And we want to get a shape of this like hill thing. So I'm working in black because I like how the finishes look on the black clay. The finishes I do look how they look on black clay. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it in black. And actually that's what I buy, and that's what I have on hand is black clay mostly. So I think we're going to start off with a ball. I think I kind of want it a little bit bigger. So after I knead it, which also conditions the clay and gets all the ingredients mixed up in it, I'll start to shape it into a ball because it's bigger, and if you don't shape it into a ball, it'll be hard to roll it into a ball. And then once I get to that point, I'll start rolling it. And the ball is, it's a nice, if it's rolled out like this, it gets it nice and smooth, the surface. So then I think what I'm going to do is I want to flatten it. So I'm just pressing it on the table, which is subsequently flattening the bottom like that. Oh, I didn't put the cover on the marker. I better do that. Okay, there we go. All right. So I'm just going to kind of form it. Just trying to get it fairly even all the way around, and okay. And maybe just look at it from all directions, because now I think I'm going to make the house. And I'm going to make a house that I've made before, because I think that will work good for this project. So I'm going to roll a ball, which gets the surface pretty smooth, and then roll it to and fro to create like a oblong shape, and then squeeze it. These two fingers on two sides, these two fingers on the other side will create like a cube, but not a cube, a rectangular cube, I guess you could say. You can see that. So that's a start. And then I'm going to squeeze the top like this to kind of create a point at the top. That's where the roof will go. Okay. Then when I first started making fairy houses, this was like the first one I ever came up with, and I really like it. I recently did a fairy garden, fairy moss garden tutorial, and I have it over here now. And I did these kind of houses for that, and they're just really cute in there. There's 3 little houses in there. It's pretty neat. Okay, so now I'm going to roll a smaller piece of clay, and this is going to be for the roof. And I'm going to squeeze it. You know, actually, I'll put that fairy garden link for that tutorial in the video description down below the video. So if there's any ideas or things that I think you might like to see or want to do, I'll put those things in the video description. But I'll tell you I'll tell you here on the video that I'm going to do that. Okay. Okay. So once we get this piece here, and this is, so it's a long piece, kind of rectangular, and it's flattened out a little bit, and that's for the roof. And so I'm going to position it on that point there, and just fold it down, and then just squeeze it together like that. And the clay at this point is really soft and pliable, and it's going to stick just fine without any kind of scoring or anything that I happen to do a lot of times when I'm working on stuff. So that's what it should look like. Okay, now I want to put a little bit of a chimney on it. So I'm going to roll a little piece of clay, roll it oblong shape, and I'm going to put it on the roof, and I'm going to have it kind of curving off to the left. That's what it looks like. And you can take like a paintbrush like this, the other end, this end here, and put a little hole in the top of the chimney like that. Now I can actually use the same paintbrush and make a window. And then you can put the paintbrush on the side like this and push it into place and go like that. And then you got a door. I think positioning is important. You definitely want it positioned, similar to the sketch. I'm going to use a little piece of wire to help connect it because it will make it stronger. So, and also down in the video description below the video, there's going to be the tool and supply list, which is going to tell you like exactly what to buy for all this. So I've got a piece of wire here, and I'm going to put it in the bottom of the house like that. And I think I'm just going to try to figure a good place for it. Would probably be like right there. So I'm just going to slide it down in and kind of twist it a little bit to seat it there. And then I'm going to hold my finger on this side and kind of press it that way so it's going off. And that gives it kind of a fairy quality to do that. That's where we are so far. And next will be the tree. So set this aside for a minute. I'm not sure how big to make it. I'm just going to guess. So I'm going to, starting with the ball, because remember, like, it makes it smooth and all that. So then I'm going to roll it with my hands like at an angle here, and that's going to make it kind of fatter on the bottom and thinner on the top. I'm going to hold it to to the hill next to the house and see if it works there. And I think it's a little high, so I'm gonna cut it off or pinch it off at the right there. So I know you've seen me, probably if you've seen me make trees before, you see me use scissors to make them, but I'm not going to use scissors today. I'm going to use my fingers. I have scissors, but I just think that sometimes we gotta learn different ways to do things. So I'm just going to pinch and pull out to create a root for the tree, and then I'm going to do it also here. And I'm going to set up here again to see how it looks, and it's looking pretty good. And I don't mind that actually that it's so close to the house there. It actually works pretty good like that. So I'm going to get another root going on the other side. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same at the top, but they're going to be smaller. These will be the branches. When I sculpt, you know, I don't oftentimes draw. I usually actually just imagine what I want to make, and then I just go for it. But, you know, sometimes it works. I mean, like, sometimes I don't want to sculpt. I come up with an idea, and I'll draw a little sketch and put it on my work table. And then when I come back to do a sculpture, I'll have that little sketch there, and I'll say, oh yeah, I came up with that idea in the middle of the night, or whatever. So I do it from time to time. But it's a good starting thing. It's a good thing to do. To get you going and get you rocking on some ideas and that sort of thing. So like the house kind of going off that way, I think I want to have the tree kind of going off the other way. The opposite way. And I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to get another piece of wire. This is, just to tell you, this is 18 gauge galvanized steel wire. I use it a lot. And you can get it at, you know, pretty much any hardware store. And I'll put it in the, I put the wire in the bottom of the tree, and now I'm going to kind of guess where it's going to go and slide it onto the hill. I really don't want this root here obscuring the door or where we're going to put the path, so that's one thing to keep in mind, but it looks good there, like that. And that's from the back view. Look at our sketch. So it's coming along. And of course, you know, you don't have to do it exactly like your sketch. If you get an idea and you want to try something else, you know, of course. But I'm just showing you that it can be done like your sketch. So it's not that hard. Now, I don't think I'm going to put texture in the tree. But I am going to put a knot hole, and that's just going to be like this. I'm just using this tool here to do that, to put the knot hole in the tree. I like knot holes. It just adds to the realisticness of the pieces that I do, especially when I'm doing a tree. I think it just looks real, even though a lot of times when you see a tree, you don't see a knot hole. But it's kind of like, it's just something that I do. One of the things I do when I do trees. Okay, so sometimes what I do is when I make a tree, I draw lines or sculpt, carve lines in the tree to give it texture. But I'm just doing this one a little bit different today. I'm not going to do that. So I think this will be fine like this. And now let's see. I think we're going to do a pathway. So this is our sketch of the pathway. And put that back out of the way for a minute. And a roll ball. And I'm going to roll a noodle. And sometimes it's just easier to roll it on a table to get it nice and uniform straight across all the way. So I'm going to get it. I don't want it to be very thick because I want it to be a lot thinner than that. And I'm actually going to, just to make it easier to roll, I'm going to take some off. Hopefully this will really open things up for you, people that are just starting to learn how to create. Having to be able to work from little doodles that you do can really change things for you. When I was first starting out, that's how I did. I did a lot of sketching then, and then later, this stuff started popping in my head, and I can retain it in my memory, and I could sculpt from memory and sculpt from my imagination without the use of drawings. But that takes a little bit of, you have to develop that. Oftentimes, I'm not saying always. Some people can do it without, but definitely, it definitely helps to be able to just take go from a sketch. And it's a good skill to have also. So I've got the noodle here. Now I'm going to kind of flatten it out a little bit. I'm not looking to squish it. Just remember the roof, the way we did the roof, kind of like that. So like maybe then that thickness there. I don't think we need this much, but I'm going to go ahead and leave most of it on, I think. Okay, I'm going to put it at the door. There, and just press it into place. And now I'm going to kind of leave the sketch for a minute and just do this the way I want to do it, now that I've got the sculpture in my hand. So I think I'm going to bring this out because I want it nice and curvy and winding. And of course it's not a very realistic path, because you wouldn't walk on a path that steep, but you know, it still gives you the idea. You know it's a path when you see it. And then just kind of have it go off here. And I'm going to take a knife and just cut it at the bottom there. And that's what we got so far. And let's take a look at the sketch. Like that. Now we have to figure out how to make a fence. And I have some ideas about that. So I'm going to show you what I think. You can use like just about anything really that's wood. And this actually is, I use it for, for my sculpture for various things, and I would use it for a fence, and I have used it for fences in the past. And it's actually a candy apple stick, but I got a deal of them online, and I got a whole bunch, and so I have them on hand. You can also use a dowel. A dowel is a round wood piece of wood, and they come in various sizes. You could use a popsicle stick, and I'll show you how you can use them, how you can use these things to make a fence. So, for one thing, you really don't need a saw if you're trying to cut something like this. You can cut them with wire cutters. So what I would do is just cut like lengths of whatever you got, like that. You can cut it by squeezing it like that, but if your hands aren't strong enough to squeeze the wire cutters, you can also squeeze it a little ways, and then, well, of course it went flying, but then you can break it like that. Now, you don't want to cut your hands, of course. I want to tell you something about this knife. You probably see it in a lot of my videos. I use it all the time. It probably looks very sharp, but it's not very sharp. It's great for cutting clay and that sort of thing. But you definitely want to be careful when you're doing this. And just grabbing a hammer here. What you can do is you can split the dowel, or split the whatever stick you have or whatever. And the way to do that is to use a knife like that and tap it like that. And then you can just push it off the end like that. And that's one split. And then you could split it again. This is it's going to be a little fence on this thing. So, it's not like I'm mass producing these things. So I really don't mind doing a little extra work like that. It's easier the second time. Like that. And actually even one more time would be fine. But let's use this small piece here. Now, it's not, the fence is actually not going to be that tall. And what you can do is you can take your wire cutters and cut this in half. And that would give you about the length that you need. There we go. So then you have two fence posts basically. And then you can use spray paint, white spray paint to do it, to paint them. Of course, definitely use lots of ventilation, or you can use acrylic paint. This is acrylic paint. And one thing I should tell you, that if you go to buy paint and you pick the cheapest one there, it probably will not be artist grade. And artist grade has a lot of pigment in it, so you're probably only going to have to do 1 or 2 coats of paint on each stick. But if you buy the real cheap paint, you might find that it doesn't have that much pigment in it, and it will probably take a lot of coats to get the coverage that you want. So just keep that in mind. I'm just going to show you. I mean, it's not rocket science, but I'm just going to show you anyways how I would paint it. So I put a little bit on the paper. A paintbrush, and I hold it on the end because the end will be submerged in the clay and I don't need to paint that. And then I just paint it. As you dip your brush into the paint, it will get heavier laden with paint and you won't have to dip it as often. And then you do 1 or 2 coats. And you make enough and just guess how much it will be to go around the tree in the house. So that's how you would do it. Okay, so we're going to do, before we put the fence together, I think we're going to do a finish. And I think most of you know that I do Pearl-X pigments as finishes, and it comes in a lot of different colors. It comes in all kinds of colors. This is Duo Red Blue, which is kind of changes colors, but it's like a deep blue color, and this is Reflex Violet, and this is Sky Blue, and this is green, and this is silver. These are the main colors I use. I just wanted to show you, there's lots of colors that you can use, but I want to do mine in bronze, because I think that's what I want. I just want it to be in bronze. So, and this is the bronze. It's antique bronze. And what I do is I just keep it in a lid because I use it a lot. And so I'm just going to apply it with my finger to start with, and then I'll touch it up with a brush. So I get a little bit of my finger and swirl it to kind of subdue it a little bit, and then just apply it. So if you've seen this done before, just bear with us, because some people have seen it and some people haven't. So all I'm trying to do is do it kind of an antique finish, so it still looks old. It looks kind of old. You can do it brighter, and you can apply it with a brush to make it look brighter. But I like how this looks with my finger, if I apply it with my finger like this. So we're going to get the finish on there, and then we're going to do the fence, because it'll be easier and the fence will be in the way, right? So and then wherever you can't get with your finger, and don't worry about getting it on here, because we're going to work that out here in a little bit. You can put a little bit on your brush, dab it like on something, a table, or my work table, or a paper towel, or whatever piece of paper, to get the excess off. And then you can just touch up wherever you need to touch up. But for me, I like to leave lots of black showing, because I just like that kind of, you know, real, actual. It looks very much like bronze. If you went and looked at a piece of bronze sculpture, you would say, wow, that looks just like Jacob's finish. Because it really does. I mean, it's very realistic. So I'm just not trying to like cover all the black. I'm actually trying to leave plenty of black showing. So that's what it looks like. Okay, and we'll go into the fence here. Now I'm not going to do fence rails. I'm just going to, because I think that would be very complicated and take a long time. So I'm going to take the fence posts and I'm going to decide where I'm going to go with this. But I think what I'm going to do is just keep it tight around the house because I've got the path coming up very close to the tree. So, and then also there has to be an opening for the pathway coming from the doorway. So I don't want to like, I want it to be close and look realistic and look nice. So I'm going to put that right next to the path and press it down in. If I start at the pathway, then, you know, I'll have the gate area covered. So I think you can see my reasoning there. If I start over here, I might end up with it, you know, not the gate area not to be in the area that I want to be in. And then I'm just going to space them out maybe a 1/4 inch apart or so. And press them down into the clay. Like that. That piece is a little bit big. Oh, that was too far away from the other post. It's best to look straight on to where you're going to do it. And you know, you can make these smaller, you can make them bigger, using the same process. Just, you know, just change the size of the clay and that sort of thing that you're using. And there it is. So that's what we got so far, and here's the sketch. As you can remember, obviously you can remember that, but I just want to show it to you. Cool. Okay. Now we're gonna have to bake this. We're gonna do. I'm gonna show you how to do something that looks a lot like either moss or grass, but it has to go on after it's baked. And but we have to prepare it and get it ready to bake. And the one thing that we have to do is we have to use some more wire for the tree, because the tree is going to have, I think I'm going to put moss on it. or not real moss, but preserved moss. And it goes better. It works a lot better if the moss can go on something like wire. So usually what I do is I cut a few strands of wire, little pieces of wire like this, maybe an inch or so long. I usually put 3 pieces on my trees. So I just put them in like that. And I have them stick up about a 1/4 inch from the top of the topmost branch or top of the tree. So in this case, it's the top of the tree. And so I'll just have them stick up about a 1/4 inch like that. Like that. And then also in the video description, there's a baking instructions for the clay. So now that will be for Sculpey 3, so if you're using a different brand, just follow the instructions on the packaging that you're using. But for Sculpey 3, the directions will be there. Just follow those, bake your house, and when it's cool, we'll come back. Okay, we're back, and I baked my fairy garden, and it's cool now, and definitely you want to make sure it's cool, and the reason why is the glue will dry really fast if it's not. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be using Elmers wood glue. That's the glue I use, and it works really well for me, and I use it a lot. So in fact, mine is green because it's turned green, by me getting moss in there with it. And also, in addition to that, we're going to use this material here. It's made by Woodland Scenics. It's a coarse turf, medium green faux moss or planting. It looks like grass or moss. It's very realistic, and to me it is anyways. And I'm going to show you how to apply that. I usually start off by putting it in a bowl. Now in the tool and supply list, all the stuff will be listed that we're using today, so that you can, do this, get the things you need to do this. So I usually do it in a bowl, and by the way, this is, it has green coloring in it, and if it gets on your carpet, it will turn it green. So just keep that in mind. You definitely want to try to keep it contained. And so what I do is dip my my paintbrush into the glue, and I'm gonna put it on the sculpture. I'm just gonna brush it on, trying not to get it onto the walkway or any of that. And I'm gonna do small sections at a time, like that. I like to put enough on so that it's white like that, and then I just put the material on it, and I don't mess with it too much. I basically just stick it on there into the glue and then just leave it for it to dry. And then just get some more on here. So I don't I don't mess with it too much until it's dry, because it will just it won't really stick on there very well if you do that. And you can see it goes fairly quickly, really. I mean, there's other ways to do it. You can like rough the surface of the sculpture, you know, where you would like to call it, you know, plantings or grass or whatever. But I think this would be somewhat more fragile than that, definitely. But I think it just looks good. It looks really good. And sometimes when I'm doing sculptures, I want them to look really a certain way. And that's why I use this material, because it really does look realistic. And I really want a nice green, lush green, you know, basically hill. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. So. And then once you let it, you know, let it dry a little bit, then you can go back and pat it down. You can take like the back end or handle of a paintbrush and just push it down around the tree or around the house, around the posts. Like that. Another thing you can do is turn it over like this and just trim it with a pair of scissors. That's kind of how it should look there. Now, another thing that you can use for the moss on the let me just clean things up here real quick. I'm gonna clean my brush. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do the moss on the top of the tree. And I'm using this product here. This is made by Supermoss. Supermoss.com is the company that sells it. That will also, the source for it will be in the video description, you know, in the tool and supply list. It's gonna have all this stuff and even sources for things that you need to buy. But this moss is really nice. It's actually, what this is it's actually they call it deer moss, and it's actually lichen. It's not actually moss, but they call it moss. And when you first buy your bag, it's going to be you know, there's going to be big chunks in there, and it's not going to be any problem coming up with what you need for a tree. But after you use it, of course, you start ending up with these scraps here. Somebody actually asked me regarding one of my other videos, what do you do? How do you make something from this? And so I'm going to show you. It's actually very simple, and I actually enjoy doing it. What you do is you start off with some kind of piece like this one here. And I just dip my brush in the Elmer's glue, the Elmer's wood glue, and then I just put it on the moss like that, like on one side, and then I stick another piece of moss on it. Now it dries very quickly when it comes in contact with the moss, so it's not like you have to sit there and hold it for any length of time. This is already sort of set almost, and so you would just keep adding, you know, little bits around that. I'll do another piece so you can see. I dip my brush in the Elmer's wood glue, and keep in mind this is wood glue, not Elmer's glue. This is wood glue. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's what I'm using. And so I'll just put some on the side of the moss where I'm going to add the next piece, and then I just add the piece. And I can shape it, I can build it up, I can make it thicker, and I can take a pair of scissors and cut it to form it the shape I want, like that. And I just before I turned the camera on earlier, I put one together, and here it is for the treetop. And so let me move this out of the way. So you see that it's actually very easy and even relaxing and fun to do, and it's not really like one of those frustrating things and you're getting all anxious, and it's not like that. It's really actually very nice. Okay, so then I have this piece here I made, and so I want to put it on here, and I've got these little three pins that I put on the top of the tree. I get a little bit of glue on my brush, and then I get the those pins wet with the glue, and I put a little bit also on the very top of the tree, like that. So it looks like that. And then I set my brush down, and then I'll put this in about center right there, and I'll press it down with my finger on top of the pins so that it's sinking the moss onto the pins, like that. And then I'll just let that dry. It actually dries again. It dries very quickly, and that's what it looks like. So here we are. This was our sketch, and this is our sculpture. And you know, I know there's a lot of steps to do this, but it really is a very simple project, and that is how I do that sometimes. I mean, I'm usually working from my imagination, but this is a really good starting point for you, because more than likely you do doodle, I mean, it's a very natural thing. If you don't, you can try it. Just draw little sketches of things, and then use the same steps that I used to create this. And then, of course, create this from the video. It's a fun project. It's a fun little fairy garden, fairy house with tree. It's really a cute little piece. I like this piece a lot. I like it a lot. So that is how you do it. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of videos along these lines. Also, please give the video a thumbs up. Tell me you liked it, and share it with your friends, please, and on any social media you are on, and leave me that comment we talked about at the beginning. I'm very interested to know if you doodle, and if you've ever made things from your doodles, or if you found this information in this video useful. I'd really like to know that. And if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section as well, and I will try to reply. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Have fun creating, and have a great day.